Trent Sherfield, what is it today? Former or NFL receiver day, asking about a receiver. Where will Odell Beckham end up? It's a great question. I assume back with the LA Rams. That would be the most likely destination since he liked it in LA, won the ring. They haven't brought him back yet. If he doesn't go back to LA, let's expand that field of destinations here. New Orleans Saints. Just keep bringing in the local boys. Honey Badger would love it. I would not rule out the Green Bay Packers. I know they drafted Christian Watson in round 1. Despite what some big media might tell you, that receiving core is still not that great. I don't know if Watson's going to be ready to be a day 1 starter, and OBJ's better than the washed-up corpse of Sammy Watkins. The Colts could make sense with Matt Ryan. The Ravens, again, imagine Lamar and OBJ. That'd be pretty damn fun out there. Maybe you send him back to the Giants. My boy Marshall was telling me how much he missed OBJ the other day. Minnesota, Tennessee. I'll drop those two as like sleeper dark horses, especially like if OBJ doesn't sign till midseason. Those teams are somewhat thin with starting caliber receivers. If they're contenders, they could make sense for Odell Beckham. So question time for you now. Who will sign OBJ? Make your predictions for me in the comment section. Which team, whether it's this week, next week, a month from now, whatever, do you think will sign Odell Beckham? Tristan Bravo, do you think Tannehill Willis turned into Rodgers and Farve? Well, okay. First issue is that Tannehill is not what Brett Favre was, and Willis is not what Rodgers was as a prospect. If you want to go with the extreme comparison, you're hoping for something like, oh God, I don't know, Tannehill is Romo, Willis is Prescott, or like maybe something like Tannehill was Alex Smith and Malik Willis is Colin Kaepernick, which would be a great outcome for Tennessee. You upgrade, they got some mobile QBs there. Willis becomes a guy who gets you to the Super Bowl. That's like, I think, your ideal outcome. Rodgers, Favre, Tannehill's not on that level as a player that Favre was, and Willis isn't what Rodgers was as a prospect. So that feels like a bit of a stretch. If Willis can develop into a top 15 starting QB, I think you're really hyped about that outcome. From Mark Jones, could you see Gronk signing with Titans? He was working out with Derrick Henry recently. You put the caps in there. I didn't. I don't think so. I think for Gronk, it is Tampa or nothing. I don't think, Gronk really wants to be working at doing the full-fledged conditioning and workout stuff. He'll work out on his own. I remember the story last year of how he would film 3 different workouts in one day and then send them in on different days to make it seem like he was actually working out, which, by the way, I'm not sure his coaching staff liked that much. But no, I don't foresee Gronk going anywhere other than Tampa unless he doesn't play to start the year, there's an injury somewhere, and he goes to ring chase. That might be your scenario. From Cody, another Titans question from him here today. Sign Cole Beasley or Emmanuel Sanders. I would like to get one of those guys. I would probably lean Emmanuel Sanders because I can play either Sanders or Burks in the slot. I think Kyle Phillips, he is a slot receiver too. So I've got guys that can handle that role already with Burks and Phillips. Maybe Burks is your year 1 slot guy. Next, you move him outside and put Phillips in there. Sanders can play outside. A Sanders-Wood-Burks receiving core as your big 3 makes me feel better about trading away A.J. Brown, but not perfect about doing so. Greenback, 25. I heard Andy Isabella and N'Keal Harry on the trade block. Who could get them? Literally anyone that wants them. Those 2 players, Arizona State and then UMass, of course, now with the Patriots and the Cardinals, have not been good football players. They have been busts at this stage. So teams that need a receiver at some level, the Falcons, the Ravens, the Titans, the Vikings, the Packers, yes, still Green Bay, as far as I'm concerned, they could offer a conditional 7th-round pick, and I think the Cardinals and Patriots say, yes, let's do it, and they accept that trade then and there. They might just end up getting cut, by the way. I want you to now name a player who you want to trade for. Could be any player, any team. Try to keep it somewhat realistic. Let me know in the comments. All right, Travis Baker, what teams are fits for Donta Hightower? Lots of them. I think any team that runs a variation of that Patriot-style defense, right? Including the Patriots themselves. I know producer Jack desperately wants him to return to New England. Tennessee didn't really add any linebackers. It's out of a late-round pick from Chance Campbell. Hightower could be a fun fit there. Miami's not in desperate need of any linebackers either after they drafted Channing Tindall, but I feel like Hightower's a better version of a Landon Roberts, so, bring him in. Denver didn't do much at inside linebacker. The Ravens could have some fun on that standpoint, too. Hightower being unsigned is interesting. I don't think he's as well regarded as he once was, but he can still help your football team. So when it comes to Dont'a Hightower, one of the more under-the-radar linebackers who are in free agency, where do you think he ends up signing? Make your prediction for me right now in the comments section. From Oliver Sandy, where will Akeem Hicks sign? Good question. The Dolphins had been linked pretty recently as part of a visit/meeting, workout, whichever it ended up being. I don't think they're the only potential destination. Hicks is best as a 3-4 defensive lineman, so these teams will run 3-4 fronts, so some teams I think you should keep in mind. The Minnesota Vikings, I think, are a great second fit beyond your favorites in Miami. If you want to try him at nose guard, Tennessee could work. The Rams, if he wants to be a ring chaser and your fourth defensive lineman. And dark horse here, the Pittsburgh Steelers could also make some sense as a fit for Akeem Hicks if they want some added depth that's not named Tyson Alualu on that defensive line. I want you to name a sleeper free agent left on the market. The big names, for the most part, are off the board. Of course, Clowney, OBJ, still out there. A sleeper name who could be a gem for you as we enter May. Drop a name or names if you want to be an overachiever for me in the comments right now. From Mark Jones, will Derrick Henry break the all-time record this year? He was on pace to break it before the fracture. I assume you mean the single-season rushing mark. He very well might. I mean, that team is not afraid to give him the football over and over and over again. So if he can stay healthy, that is certainly a record he has a shot of breaking. It is not easy to be broken, however. From Cody, for the Titans, sign Eric Flowers, cut Taylor Lewan, trade for Tyler Lockett. Thoughts? Once we get past June 1st, a trade of Tyler Lockett does become more palatable. I don't like the idea of cutting Taylor Lewan. Who's my left tackle? I would go sign Eric Flowers, plug him in there at left guard. I'm down. I don't have a left tackle if I cut Lewan. So the other two, sure. I doubt you can get Lockett right now, though. But I think Flowers would be a good signing by Tennessee. I really, really like that idea, Cody. From Speezy32, who has the better situation, Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett? It's a good question. I think both are in pretty decent landing spots. Both teams have good stability right now with their head coach and with their front office. Now, interestingly enough, both OCs are the play callers are not the head coaches. I think I lean Pittsburgh just because historically as one of the best run organizations in the NFL, but that's like 1A, 1B in terms of the quarterback landing spot. So it's a good question. I think I go Steelers, but it's a true toss-up for me. From Jim Panson, 84, which day 3 pick do you think could have an immediate impact? So there are going to be a lot of guys on day 3 that step up and play a big-time role early. I think the first 3 picks of day 3, right? Cade Otton to the Bucks, Damian Pierce to the Texans, Perion Winfrey, all those guys could step up sooner rather than later. Looking through my list here as well, I like Neil Farrell a lot. The Charlie Kohler pick I like. Technically, your kickers and punters can make a big impact, but I hate that. Calvin Austin to the Steelers. I really like that pick up in the 4th round as well. We mentioned Tyler Algier of the Falcons earlier in today's live show. He's a good fit as an early impact type of player. Those skill position players also often make their impact felt kind of quickly. I thought Jamari Salyer to the Chargers was a steal later on in the draft. That's another one in terms of offensive line play who could make a nice impact for you. For live shows, NFL news, rumors, and more, all season and off-season long, you've come to the right spot. Hit that big red button and subscribe at youtube.com/chatsportstv. From Oh My Lord, who will be the first quarterback drafted next? I assume you mean year. It is way too early, and we will do some some way too early mock drafts, it would be an early two-team race, I think. Two-player race. Bryce Young, the Alabama quarterback, and C.J. Stroud, the Ohio State QB. Hey, maybe Spencer Rattler actually is decent under pressure next year, but these are the early favorites in what appears to be a better class than what we had this year. I say appears to be because there's an entire year of college football to be played. Changes happen. It's not by any means a locked and loaded thing. Who do you think goes first of these two? BY for Bryce Young or CJ for CJ Stroud? From Pablo, who had the best draft? The ones that I liked the most, the Baltimore Ravens, I thought crushed it this year. I thought Philadelphia did a fantastic job as well. And I also thought that the Chiefs did. Those three teams in particular, amongst several others, all did a really good job. From James Heiner, what do you think will be the most intriguing quarterback battles once camp starts? Great questions. Question, I should say. Steelers jumps out with Mitchell Trubisky against Kenny Pickett. Beyond that, things are mostly settled. The Falcons, Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota, another good one. Whatever happens in Carolina feels like one. They can't enter the year with just Darnold and Ridder, right? They got to add, or Darnold and Corral. They got to add somebody else in there. The Niners, if they keep Jimmy G, I guess that could be a competition. And whatever's going to happen in Seattle, Drew Lock, Geno Smith, and I hope a third QB also makes sense. DCX Viper, who are your top prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft? I won't go too far in depth. We will eventually do a way too early 2023 class. Jackson Smith in no order. Jackson Smith in Jigba, the next great Ohio State wide receiver. Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. Clemson's got some good defensive ends. C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Jalen Carter from Georgia, and the number one guy right now, that is Will Anderson, the edge rusher out of Alabama. He would have been the consensus number one pick this year had he been draft eligible.